Hello everyone, it's Mary. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to our series. If you're new here, thanks for popping in, and for those of you returning, I hope you are getting inspired for this holiday season and our card making. Today's video is going to be about quick coloring. Not overthinking it, but getting to use some of those supplies that we've been put aside and collect dust, and it's time to bring them out and play. I know I get a little bit intimidated by outline stamps, and that's just because I know coloring could be daunting, but also just take a long time. And so I want to show you just some quick, fast coloring that you can do with an ink pad and a water brush. First though, what we're going to do is stamp our images out on some watercolor cardstock. I'm going to prep my surface here because I'm actually going to heat emboss it with clear embossing powder, and that's just going to help the coloring process go a little bit smoother, but you don't have to do this. If you're using a waterproof ink like I am, it's the VersaFine Clair Nocturne, you don't have to emboss it. But I'm going to, and I am going to, as you saw, stamp it out, pour some clear embossing powder over it, and then heat set it. Now that's going to create a little bit of like a well where my image lines are. So that makes it a little bit easier when I'm doing watercoloring. I'm also going to be doing a pretty dry watercolor, so I don't have to necessarily worry too much about that. That's pretty much why I'm reiterating the fact that you don't have to heat emboss. Okay, so let's start our coloring process here. Now, I'm not using any fancy watercolors or paints. You can if you have them. I am going to keep this as simple as possible. I do like to use this little rotating thing. I think this was from Totally Tiffany. Anything you have like that for coloring, I do find beneficial, because as you're coloring, depending on, whatever hand you are, right hand, left hand, it doesn't really matter. You're going to want to kind of shift your angle a little bit throughout your coloring process. Now, not so much on the trees because I'm just going up and down, but you'll see me do a little bit of that in the next coloring session. So I am going to take a lighter green first. I'm just going to cover the trees. Very, very simple. Like I said, I'm doing more of a dry watercoloring, which means I'm picking up the ink with the brush and putting it straight down to paper. I'm not adding a whole bunch of water. I'm not looking for this to be anywhere near perfect. There's so much detail in this particular drawing that it kind of does the work for me. I don't really have to overthink it. I'm going to heat set that just a little bit and then go back in and add some dark green over that. Now this is a dye ink that I'm using. I'm using Catherine Pooler inks in, I want to say, the green skirt and the spruce. So a lighter and a darker. If you only have one color, that works too. Just use the one color and then dry it and go back in and do some shading with the same color. You're just going to be layering it up. So that's possible as well. So I kept the green out just to put on that little reindeer's bell necklace. Now I'm going to go in with some Distress Oxide. And this is, again, another really friendly ink to use with watercoloring. So you can use any of your dye-based inks, any of your hybrid inks, which are dye and pigment. But I don't recommend coloring with pigment inks. That just doesn't work out so well. So you can see I'm going to go in with a lighter color here, and then I'm going to add some shading. So while I am coloring, I think this is a great opportunity to invite you, if you haven't heard, about our second annual holiday party that's happening on December 6th. Now this is a live event. So that means we are going to have 5 live classes throughout the day. The kickoff is at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Don't worry if you are West Coast, you are going to be able to attend lots of live classes that day because we have them every hour and a half. And it all ends with our huge giveaway party at 5 p.m. And we are giving away 50 prizes. And the great fun about that is once you register for this event, you'll get a Google form where you will pick your prizes. I'm not going to tell you to pick from a list. You are going to write down what you want. And so that makes it so fun to give out those prizes. It's almost like playing Santa. So I hope you can make it. Details will be in the link when you use that QR code on the screen, or if you just click the link in the description below or in the comments section, and you can head right over there and get registered. I do definitely want to make sure I add that if funds are tight and you are in need of community, please reach out to me directly via email. We don't want costs to be a barrier for you. So, all right, we hope you can join. So let's go back to the coloring here. You can see I'm just adding very, very minimal shading where I think shadows might be for our little reindeer here. And if these aren't just the cutest little images, Simon Hurley's stamp set. They're so cute. Okay, so that's really quick. Now, I would say this took me about 20 minutes or so in total to color all these images. And I wasn't overly concerned with getting any kind of perfection. And I think that's sort of my message today, especially as we're nearing the holidays and we might be putting together some of those last minute cards. Or if we're just want to use what we have, but again, we feel it's a little overwhelming to color large images. You can just do it on, stamp them on watercolor cardstock and then use your ink pads. It's so simple, so you have to give it a try. So after that, I am going to die cut all of these images out. Now I'm going to keep this negative piece with the trees. That'll come back in just a minute. But I also want to talk about when you're making your holiday cards, if you need to stamp out a sentiment, I highly recommend that you stamp out multiples at once. I always love the black cardstock with white heat embossing look. I use that for so many of my cards, especially during the holidays. I think the black and white contrast to our holiday colors just looks great. So I'm going to stamp out almost every sentiment that's in this one stamp set I'm using. By the way, all the things I'm using will be linked in the description box below if you want to check them out yourself or if you're in the market for anything. But I'm going to stamp them out in Versamark clear sticky ink, and then I'm going to pour white embossing powder over. Then I'm going to heat set with my Wagner heat tool on the high setting. Now I'm going to have a bunch of sentiments ready to go, and I just put them in my little drawer, and I don't have to remake sentiments all the time when I'm card making. So that's just another tip to kind of save some time. Now let's start putting together our cards. This first one, I wanted to use some pattern paper because, quite frankly, I just don't use pattern paper that much. Although, little plug for my class during the live event, I got outside my comfort zone and I'm using only pattern paper pretty much and dies. So that'll be so fun. But anyway, I decided to add a little bit of shadowing to this pattern paper here because I really think it breaks up not the simplicity of it, but it just gives it a little bit more depth or a level up. I'm going to use the Merry Christmas stamp that comes with one of those sets. I love that font. It's so pretty. Now the second background, I'm going to do a little bit of ink smushing. Because I had stamped and die cut on some watercolor cardstock, I thought that was a great opportunity to use this piece and not just toss it in the trash. So I'm just going to do a very fun mixed media look kind of background. But then I have this stamp from a different set that looks like tree branches. And I'm just going to stamp it all over because it looks like pine needles. And so when I use three different colors here, Deck the Halls, Spruce, and Grass Skirt. And so I'm going to fill this background up because then I'm going to put my die cut negative of the trees over it and it's going to fill in the tree. There we go. So it looks like pine needles. And there we have it. I get so tickled with that one. I thought that was so fun. I really do love that pine needle stamp set too, and it's so unassuming. It's one of those stamp sets I've had for a while that I just was like sifting through this holiday season, like I gotta use some of this stuff, folks. And so I pulled that out. Okay, put that down flat onto my card. I guess it's another panel, so just put those two panels together. Now we're moving on to this little cutie patootie. Now, I have to say about this background, this is an old embossing folder I had, and I have had that background since my first embossing class, which was well over 18 months ago, I think, at least. So I have to say, kudos to me for pulling out a background that I just haven't parted with yet. And I want to encourage you to do that too, because I'm sure you're making tons. So I just put my little deer on that one. I thought it was fitting. He's in the woods. And now I'm going to pop up my Santa. I put my Santa tucked in behind the trees. I thought that was a little fun way to do it. I'm going to add a sentiment to my trees. And now I feel like the fun comes. So this is where you can add all your embellishments. So first up, let's pause that for a second. I went in with some pops of color in the gold and made some tinsel and then added red glitter pops of color to make the ornaments. The next embellishment I'm going to do is the snow marker, where I'm going to add to his cuffs and the little ball on his hat. So this basically is a liquid that you heat set and then it puffs up. So that's going to add some nice texture and dimension to those parts of his outfit. And then I'm going to go in, add some gold pops of color glitter to the star. And then those little ornaments, when I was coloring, I forgot to mention, just color over them, because you can go back in with an embellishment like this and just finish them off. So I did that with the red glitter pops of color, and they are getting loved this holiday season, as you can tell. I'm going to cover his bell right here at the bottom with the gold pops of color. And then for this card, I'm going to finish it off with some stickles in the frost, where I'm just highlighting some of the trees and then also this deer's antlers. And so that way we just have a little sparkle on the card, nothing too over the top. But that finishes it off really, really nicely. And if you don't know, I use stickles during the holiday season for so many things. For snow on the ground, ice, for the rooftop. It just gets a lot of love during the winter season. And so here we have our 3 finished cards with some very quick and simple coloring, and then some ideas on how to finish off those cards or how to place some of those images that you are coloring. I hope this video was helpful. Again, I hope you're getting inspired as you sit down and craft and make your holiday cards. And most importantly, I hope you are making time for yourself, because the holiday season can get really, really busy, and it's really important that we take care of ourselves. I will see you all either at our live event on the 6th of December, in the comments down below, or in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.